So, yeah, 2 years ago we released the Krux Evo Frame, which the name we get questions on. So can you explain the name for us a little bit before we get started?
Yeah, for sure. So first frame I designed was the Krux. And so the Krux Evo is obviously the next evolution of the Krux.
Gotcha.
And so when we had the Krux, we then moved on, upgrade to the X Curve, added some more function to it, helped a little bit with the real heavy loads, guide type stuff.
Yeah.
And then we got down the road 2 years, and to be honest, I missed the Krux. It was a pack that I designed for myself. It still fit me. I found myself still reaching for the old Krux. And so at that point, that's when I decided, okay, well, need to rework this and figure out what has worked with it in the past and what hasn't, and make all the improvements. And this is where we've landed. So primarily, it's based off of the same geometry of the original Krux, the same stays, and then started working through improved hip belt. Used a lot of the same technology that we're using on the X Curve on the hip belt as far as adjustable side straps. We got rid of the side wings on here, and those add a little bit more stability on real heavy loads, but I found for me personally that I didn't really need it.
Yeah.
I wasn't packing 10 heavy loads a year. I was primarily hunting for myself, a couple trips, heavy trips out, and I could shave a bunch of weight all the other times I wasn't packing heavy loads. So that was kind of the idea behind it.
Yeah, and so we always talk about, and we're always so familiar with all the terms of everything, so we always talk about the frame sheet. So this is a flat frame sheet. So can you explain the difference between that and the X Curve and how that functions?
You bet. So the stays, 4 stays in the Evo, just like on the X Curve. The 4 stays that are in this are straight carbon stays. You can see a profile from the side, whereas the X Curve, as the name suggests, has a curvature in it. And really, which pack fits individual people, I can't really tell you.
Yeah.
Honestly, it's a personal preference. It's almost like a high arch in a shoe. Mm-hmm. It's what's most comfortable under load, and that's one of the tough things about fitting. The straight stays have always fit me very well. I can use either pack, but if I can save weight, it's just that I'm going to do it.
Totally.
So that's why this has become my preference.
It's interesting. We were talking to, like, our office is about 60-40. 60% of us are running, Evo frames over X Curves just for that weight savings, and I think a lot of us just like that feel too of that flat frame sheet. So that's interesting. When you redesigned this, Kurt, can you talk about some of the ways that you saved weight over the original Krux?
You bet.
It got pretty light. What's this guy, 2 pounds, 7 ounces? That's what that frame weighs in at, which is, significantly lighter, I think, than what the original Krux was. So.
Yeah. Well, one of the primary ways that I saved weight is to try to start combining pieces. So, and I can't remember exactly on my notes, but there's something like 90 some pieces that go into an individual frame. And I was able to minimize that. And the way that I was able to do that was to use a heavier fabric for the main frame sheet.
Yeah.
And so what that allowed me to do is to get rid of webbing enhancements and wear points. And this heavier fabric, you can double it up in your wear points like this right here, opposed to going with the heavier webbing, which also is tougher to sew and creates a bulkier final product. And that was the primary way that we were able to save weight on it.
Yeah, so you beef up the fabric, you get rid of the X amount of feet of webbing that reinforce all the stay channels, and effectively get the same durability, same structural integrity without the added weight of all the quote-unquote reinforcements.
You do. And the other thing you do is you start to save seams. So every place that you have a seam, you have excess fabric that sticks on the inside, anywhere from 3/8 to a 1/2 inch. So when you start looking at multiple seams and panels through an individual frame, that's another way. And It is. It's just ounces, but when you're able to do that in 5 or 6 spots, all of a sudden you've knocked off a half a pound.